And I said, have you seen the newspaper? This guy was arrested by the FBI.
As long as you are not manufacturing dynamite in an underground mine, and as long as you're profitable, we've probably got a home for you.
You go, okay, hold on. Let's get after it. How did you get into the insurance industry? How did you get started in work comp? Tell me the story. Big game hunter, gamer, work comp queen, and reality star, reality TV junkie, Linsey Lockner's in the house. Linsey, it's good to have you.
Brian, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You look like you are ready to game. I know we were chatting about that earlier, but it's good to be here in the studio. Okay, hold on. Let's get after it. How did you get into the insurance industry? How did you get started in work comp? Tell me the story.
Well, first of all, the game setup. I mean, seriously, I have a 20-year-old and I have a 16-year-old. I told the 20-year-old the other day, I was like, dude, I'm on a podcast this week. I have never seen my son get that excited. And he's like, how many followers? What are we looking at here, Mom? And now I'm in here and I'm like, we're ready to game. This is amazing. So sorry, got sidetracked there.
I'm trying to think of my gamer terminology, but I'm 42, so I'm just now getting a hold of things I shouldn't say publicly. But the things I hear that people say in the gaming world, very quickly that funnel is dropping on things that I can repeat on an insurance-based podcast. So what I can tell you about a podcast like this, and this is true for the whole internet, everybody watches shorts, and a much smaller amount will ever watch a full podcast. But we are living in a limited attention span environment. So I don't know, State Insurance Fund might have to do TikTok shorts for safety.
Heck
these
yeah,
days.
like and subscribe and follow or whatever you were supposed to say there.
Smash
Sorry.
that like button.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
My kids like to roast me because I pulled up an interview that I did with my dad for my in-laws to watch, and my kids were like pointing at me like I was a circus freak, telling me all the things I was doing wrong. So I hope I'm not doing too much wrong right now.
And I hope I'm doing my 20-year-old son proud right now. We'll see how
He's
going to
be so proud. You're one step away from like Rogan and UFC podcast.
Absolutely. Insurance podcast. We're right up there with it, Brian. We're doing good. Awesome.
Whenever I tell people insurance is a niche in business that nobody cares about. So insurance podcasts are even farther down that rabbit hole. Now walk me through, I feel like I've known you my whole career in Idaho, and it's been work comp based. How did you get started?
It was funny. So I'm an Idaho native, Boise native, actually. Went to Boise High, go Boise Brave, and did really well in high school. Extracurricular, grades, all that good stuff. Came time for my senior year, and I went to my dad and I was like, hey, so I think I want to take a year off before I go to college. Is that okay with you? And I was daddy's little girl. I'm the only girl. I'm the daughter. And he's like, you know what? You go to college first year, or I'm going to finish our basement with your college fund. So figure it out. You better go to college.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, no, he's not. There's no tough love that is that strong. So I was like, I'm going to go figure this out. My dad got me a job over at Fremont that was previously Industrial Indemnity, later became Employers.
Wow.
There were some good names over there. George Tway, Jim Kaneko, those guys, yep. Shayla Mulder over there. Got me a job over there as a file clerk.
No
so I
kidding.
went and I was slinging files for about 9 months. I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I went to my dad and I said, I think I'm ready to go to college now, Dad. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. And he goes, have you seen our basement lately? I said, yeah. And he goes, it's real pretty, isn't it, sis? And I said, yeah. And he goes, you better figure out insurance.
Oh, wow.
And 26 years later, here we are. We're doing insurance.
Wow.
And I don't regret one bit of it. I don't want to go back to slinging files in the paperless world that we're in today.
Yes.
But it's been fantastic. It's been a great career.
So so your son's Gen Z, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. For all the Gen Zers out there, they used to have pieces of paper that would go in other pieces of paper. They put them in a metal thing called a file cabinet. And we both remember those days.
Oh, you had to check them out with like a file card, and it was like a library book back in the day.
Man, so you have seen the whole gamut of, I think we're probably generationally where you remember life without a computer, mm-hmm. but you also remember life with a computer mm-hmm. as a kid. And so you started there as a file clerk, basically. What was like the next thing you did after that?
The next thing I did after that, I became an underwriting assistant over at an MGU, a managing general underwriting company. We wrote on paper for 2 different insurance companies out there, went through some of that and just kind of learned the real guts and mechanics of a work comp policy, figuring out endorsements, class codes, all of that good stuff. And then honestly, at that same company, I went through everything. I did audits, I did collections, I did a little bit of everything over there to see what all the different positions really did and what appealed to me and what truly interested me.
So you're in a role where you get to see how that side of the industry functions. What would you say was your favorite part of that job where you're starting to say, here's what I want to do with my career? And then what were important parts of a work comp policy or the process that you said, this is definitely the part I don't want to be doing?
Let's focus on that first. I don't know if you've seen me. I'm 5'2", maybe on a good day. I am not a Guido. I am not a good collection specialist over here. It was not a bright point in my career. What I really loved is whenever I learned that work comp is almost the only line of insurance that the customer has control over. Being that if your claims are good and if your performance is good, that corresponds directly with the experience mod. And that is what contributes to your premium and can drive it up or bring it on down. And that really appealed to me, just learning about the mechanics of that and how that's all calculated. I'm a nerd at the end of the day. And that was just fascinating to me.
You're spot on. I mean, businesses really can control their costs for good or bad. I mean, if you don't know how many clients I've seen just brushing off insurance loss control people. Mm-hmm. And on occasion, they get this tough skin because let's say on the property side, someone will come in and say, I have a recommendation, you should put a sprinkler system up. And they're going to go, I know, I got a quote 3 years ago. It's literally $3 million. I'm not going to do it. So after a while, you get used to saying no. And then someone comes in and says, do you realize if you did this with your work comp, it'd help your mod? And you're predisposed to saying no already. So to be able to listen and execute that is a gift, and it does make a difference.
It totally does. It is something that really gets me geeked out and really kind of fuels that fire in my belly whenever it comes to insurance.
So real fast on the collection side.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure collections hasn't changed a lot. Maybe it has. Do work comp companies tend to do their own collections? Do they send it to a third party? Do you have like employees just hitting the phones? How does that work?
Typically the work comp company, they take that first line. So they spend, 3 to 6 months trying to collect that balance. And at that point they engage with typically a third party firm that goes after that and takes their cut off the top. And we pay a fee to them, but we do eventually hopefully collect that money.
Okay. From what I've heard, you have to be relentless to be one of these bill collectors. It's like being a repo guy.
Yep.
You are going to be face to face with somebody who is mad as a hornet.
Absolutely. That's not where I want to play at all. Yeah. So
the only experience I have on that side of it would be with a non-work comp related client. Was in the general area, and he was a manufacturer. And the carrier called me and said he hasn't paid his bill. He owes us. He was paying a lot, but he owed like $8,000 in an installment. And I said, have you seen the newspaper? This guy was arrested by the FBI. Like, there's going to be a long line of people asking for money. And like, I don't think a Fortune 500 insurance company is going to get a lot of sympathy. So you might have to walk away from this one. I don't know if they did or not, but I just said, he's going to be in jail soon. So I'm not sure the money's coming back.
Sometimes you got to cut your losses there.
Cut your losses. So you started off with, initially was the company that became employers, but then you went to an MGU. Mm-hmm. Now, how long was it before did you bounce back to employers?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I did eventually bounce back to employers. My first stint under Fremont was only about 6 months. And then I went to the MGU, and then I went back to employers. I was an underwriter over there, and then a position opened up in the field, being what they call a territory manager. Mm-hmm. So a sales rep going out, visiting with the agencies and doing that. And that was one of the funnest times I have ever had in my career. Grueling. I mean, I was on the road every other week for 8 years. I covered the whole Northwest. I was the only employee in the whole Northwest for employers.
Wow.
And met so many amazing people, and I love what I do today, but there's parts of me where I'm like, oh, I want to go on one of those old milk runs through Montana right now. I'm craving my peeps over there. So,
well, I have seen that, just so you know, like I remember meeting you, I think. So I was in insurance for roughly 5 years, moved back to Idaho in 2010. And then when I think I was in Hartwell's Caldwell office, were you the employer's rep in 2010?
I would have been. Yes,
okay.
You're right.
So I remember thinking, now that I'm going back through my mental, like, the notes, you were very happy in that role. You're kind of born to do that at that stage of your career. There's a lot of joy just being an energy that comes from all the people you get to deal with.
Absolutely. It was so much fun, truly. I know I keep saying that, but it was so much fun. I will say, whenever I decided to step away from that, I was still in the field whenever that little thing called COVID came around.
Oh, gosh.
We all got grounded. We couldn't travel anymore. We couldn't come out and see our agents anymore. They weren't in the office, most of them. It was really hard. And so we were grounded there for a good period of time. And then all of a sudden they said, okay, travel restrictions lifted, go hit it. And I was like, I'm getting kind of old for this stuff. I don't know if I can go back to every other week on the road doing that. And that's whenever I decided to take a step back.
Okay. Well, it is a grind to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, now I have, we were just chatting earlier about me being an old man with back problems. So driving and getting in and out of cars and just the time on the road can be exhausting.
Oh, there's a lot of that. Yeah. And I mean, I think whenever I applied for that job, I was like, oh, this is like business Barbie. Let's go. Like, I'm going to have my briefcase. This is going to be glamorous. And I turned in my rental car once in Bozeman, Montana, and I had a broken heel. I had hit a bird. It was stuck in the grill of the rental car. There was like 10 empty Red Bull cans in the back seat. And I was like, this is not glamorous anymore. I don't know about this, but it was still so much fun.
I heard a guy one time say, I can't believe people think medical device sales is glamorous. I think of trudging through a 10 inches of snow in a Montana parking lot with tons of equipment falling off of some kind of a transporter, and doctors were going to yell at me.
Yep.
So once you get to the reality of the position, right, it becomes more real.
It does, especially in Montana. I mean, my sales manager was based out of San Francisco, and he used to worry about me so much. And he's like, are you going to be okay driving in this? And he once joked that he was going to get me one of those snowmobiler beacons to make sure they could find me in case I ever skidded off the road and got into trouble in Montana. So
employers, I mean, I feel like they've been a ubiquitous name in the insurance industry. In your experience, how would you describe employers? What kind of people did you meet there, and lessons did you learn?
Most of my time at employers was spent on the sales side whenever
Okay.
I was the territory manager over there, and that culture was top notch. I learned so much over there that I apply today and I will apply in the rest of my career, just about building relationships, about how important our agency partners are and how important it is to nurture those relationships and truly understand what our agency partners need, because it's not the same for every agency out there. What Hartwell may need and what they specialize in can be completely different than what the agency down the street does. And I think that diving into that, that really interested me and fueled my passion there.
So talking about employers and the time you spent there, are there any people that were meaningful in relationships that you still are holding on to today?
Absolutely. I had a sales manager over there. His name was Wayne Gertis. He was actually based out of McKinney, Texas, outside of Dallas. And the way that he assembled our sales team over there was phenomenal. The way that he created that culture. I still, to this day, I will call Wayne. He's no longer at employers, but I will call him all the time and just talk to him about, I'm thinking about this with my team, and what do you think about this? And I think he's told me it brings a smile to his face that I still call him and look back on that. That team that we had, we are still rock solid. We still lean on each other. I get, voice recordings from one of my buddies over there, and he'll call me and be like, just want to let you know that on a scale of 0 to 10, you're probably still a 0 today, Lockner. Hope you're having a good day. So fabulous. I mean, I love those relationships we built. We were like a small family over there. So.
When you have a good friend, like I was just chatting with a really good friend of mine. We're doing a project outside of work. And I said, just to encourage you, it's only going to be this bad continually until something major changes.
I love that. That gives us all hope.
But I think, he's a person that wants the truth. And obviously your friend's just joking with you. But it is cool to see if a relationship can survive not being in the same building or at the same company. because a lot of relationships don't.
Yes.
My first job out of college, right before I worked for Brown & Brown doing insurance, was selling copiers for like 8 months or something. And one of the guys, I was 22, so you don't know anything at 22. And one of the guys was 30, 25. I remember thinking he was a wealth of knowledge, but he was a kid. And he said, Brian, you'll see that the relationships we have here are really special compared to what you'll have in other workplaces. I had nothing to gauge that on, but in hindsight, we had a shared struggle. And if you have something you're going through together, it kind of really can bind a group of people together.
It really does. We joke around that can be some trauma bonding you go through there, honestly. I mean, it's that shared struggle and that trauma bond you have. So
the trauma bond. So when with a place like Employers, I guess I'm familiar with them, but if you take Linsey Lockner away from Employers, I couldn't name a single person that was there because you were the face of what we were doing, right? So and I've heard other people say this too. So let me just say this in a roundabout way. I had a guy who was in the Linsey Lockner kind of territory role, did a really good job, went on to a higher role where he was basically overseeing a group of people. And he said, man, I really miss seeing the people, because you walk into a room, all the agents light up to see you. But when you're the manager, you're behind the scenes and the agents are like, what's your name again?
Absolutely.
Do you experience that now?
Absolutely. And I crave it. I'm jonesing for it. I talk to my team now and I'm like, please let me go out with you. Come on. You can let me out of the office again. I want to go see my friends. Because I mean, the agents that I've worked with for 25 years, they're my friends at this point. And I miss them. And it's just so hard.
Well, you need to start twisting more arms. So here's what I've seen. I now oversee the carriers who will come visit us. Mm-hmm. So after COVID, with 4 offices, we just don't have people in the office. So carriers would say, well, I'll drop by. Well, literally 2 people or 3 are in the office, and none of them do the type of work the carrier is going to talk about. So we said, we've got to replan all this. One thing I saw was that with some of our carriers, they just wanted to connect so they could connect with phone or whatever. But with some carriers, I will say, hey, listen, do you need this visit? Yes, I have a new boss. They've told me I must set up meetings with agents. Can you please do it? I'm like, I got you. That's not all the time. But I do see that people in the Linsey space will tell their, folks they're working with, hey, will you please get me in front of some agents? Like, so I can go out and see what the field looks like right now and meet people and get an idea for it. So.
Yeah, and just get a pulse. Hear it straight from our agents, not through a report that they write and send up to me. I don't want that. I want to see what the energy is like. It's good.
Oh, so, okay. So you bounced first job, MGU, Employers, and Employers was how long? How long were you there?
I was there for about 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yep.
So that's a solid stretch where you're probably maxing out that role. Mm-hmm. You're operating at a high level. And then was it from Employers that you went to SIF?
It was, okay. Absolutely. They were coming off the heels of COVID and deciding to take a step back and bring it back home, honestly, for the last stage of my career, because I do plan on retiring at SIF. I love it there. I wanted to focus on our home state here and really work on those relationships and what this market looks like right now.
So tell me, if you had to give me the 30-second, here's what SIF has done and is doing, what would you say?
I'd say the past 10 years has been a huge transformation at SIF. Rick Ferguson really took us on a journey of improving our technology and the way that we interact with our customers. He retired, as you know, about a year ago. Since then, Katie Farrell has taken over at the helm, and we have really doubled down on the customer experience. So we've been building that technology stack, and now we want to focus on that customer experience and how we engage with our customers going forward.
Well, I can tell you from the outside looking in, SIF's doing a lot of good things.
Fabulous. It's good to hear that.
I literally, this is years ago, and I used to joke with Rick about this. I used to have, and I don't know if you want to use this footage later with SIF or not, but I used to have, this is years ago, pre-Linsey, pre-Rick, I had a folder in my inbox that said, crap the state fund will try to say, because I would argue with the underwriters about silly things. Well, I had to grow personally because I've learned about myself. I don't collaborate very well, but I actually deleted the folder years ago because so many positive things had changed. And I think Rick was a big part of that. Seeing you've been a big part of that. Katie's been a big part of that. So I can say from the most authentic part of my heart that I think SIF is going going places that are very healthy and people see it.
That is music to my ears. I mean, our mission is to be the go-to work comp market in the state of Idaho. Whenever any agent or customer out there thinks of work comp, we want them to think of SIF first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got to say with Rick, like most people know me only as Bald Brian, the adult, but Rick will always bring up when we're having these interactions, and I hope someday he'll be interviewed, but he'll say, I remember, like we'll be talking with a group and he'll bring up, I remember Brian when he was 14 years old trying to be an insurance. I'm like, Rick, I was like 28, but he remembers me as a kid and I had hair and I was working with these agents that are now 75 or 80. And so there's a place in my heart where I do fondly look back, kind of like your early days at Employers maybe, of saying Rick was running iCrimp back when I came back as an agent. And then I got to see Rick go from, I remember sitting in my office showing a few of our agents, hey, look at this announcement. Rick Ferguson left iCrimp to go take over SIF. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, SIF, how many employees are at SIF right now?
We're right around 230, 240,
okay.
right
so
in there. Yeah.
Having hundreds of employees, I'm like, that's a big organization. Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal. And I remember like calling Rick one time and saying, am I allowed to call you while you're like the CEO of the state fund? Is that okay? He was like, yes, please do, or whatever. But it's been neat to get to know Rick this long and continue that relationship. And then someday I was hoping to interview Katie and just tease her and be like, I heard you were an actuary. What's the square root of 64? Like, let's do a math test real fast. But no,
please do. Yes, please do.
She was so much fun. Got to see her at that Steelheads event you guys put on. Mm-hmm. Awesome event.
Very
It was
good.
fun to hang out with her and see you and see everybody.
Thanks for attending. It was a lot of fun. It was a good night for sure. And I will say Katie is an actuary, but she is probably the only actuary that I will take to a hockey game and that can engage with our agents and that I don't need to keep locked away in an office back home. So
I was just joking with a guest we had. This goes to being an actuary because you're smart. I would have never guessed Katie was an actuary, right? Because she's so good with people. A carrier came in and said, how many of your agents are working on life sciences? And I was like, time out. 3/4 of the agents at Hartwell have no need to work on anything that has the word science in it. Like, that's not who we are. So it is cool to see this industry, how you can have people like Katie that are good at math. Mm-hmm. My wife's good at math. I'm okay at math. But when you think through like the levels of knowledge that people have, whether it's coverage knowledge, it's math specific, whatever it is, that's part of what makes insurance pretty cool.
it is. And before Katie became our CEO, whenever I was the business development manager, I started having weekly check-ins with her. And I finally told her once, I was like, Katie, I'm used to being able to come into a room, and if I need to BS somebody, I can BS somebody. I can't do that with you. You're too smart. Like, I've just got to be real with you. And that was really good. But she's good at taking all the mumbo jumbo math and breaking it down and explaining it to me. So it's good.
So the amount of number crunching you must have to do with all the rates and all the filings and all the regulation. Walk me through, I guess, okay, so we'll get there. Walk me through your roles at the state fund, because I can't keep the title straight. So you just start from the beginning, from when you got there, and then walk me through your roles, how long you were there, and what you did.
Absolutely. So I came over to be a business development executive. We have 4 of those across the state. You previously interviewed one of those, Callista Lester. She handles up north for us. And I came over to be the one in Treasure Valley. So talk about going from the entire Northwest to a postage stamp, really. And that's all I handled. I couldn't even go past the airport. I just worked with all the agents right here. And did that for about 6 months. And then we had an opening for an underwriting manager. And our business development manager, Jordan Heap, they asked him to come over and be our underwriting manager to do that transfer from his current role, and then asked me to move up to business development manager.
Okay.
So I did that for about a year. And then Jordan moved into another role at SIF, and they asked me to take on both business development and underwriting, that was a unique step. Typically, at least in some of my prior companies, sales and underwriting, they need to work really well together, but they don't always work really well together. You know, I mean, you've got the sales guy out there saying, yes, 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 we'll write this. And you've got the underwriter saying, no, actually, we won't. So it was interesting trying to bring those two groups together and have that common ground. And it was really fun. So I did that for the past year and a half, I guess it's been. I had a lot of fun getting back to my underwriting roots. I'd been away from that for a while and went back to full geek mode there, while still working with our field folks that are out visiting our agencies, and that was great. And then just in January, I got promoted to Policyholder Services Director, and that's my current role now.
So time out. Policyholder services, let's pause there. but I want to go back to you were business development executive and underwriting manager. That was the last two hybrid roles. Yep. That sounds like being in charge of saying yes and in charge of saying no.
Correct.
And that is a tough fusion to find. So walk me through the DNA of the state fund and how you've seen that fusion change, maybe not change, I don't know, but how have you seen the state fund grow or change in that realm the last couple of years?
Yeah, so our business development department is still relatively new. I think we're at about 6 years now that we've had that. On the contrary, obviously our underwriting department is over 100 years old. So we've got some pretty deep roots there. We have some exceptional institutional knowledge in our underwriting department. Some of those folks, they could cite the scopes manual and the basic manual front to back. They are fabulous whenever it comes to that. So really taking those two worlds and merging them, it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always pretty. But I think that the outcome that we had was fantastic. We got our underwriters thinking a little bit more on the, not just let me get the right class code, but let me make sure that this is the right account for SIF and that we're pricing it the right way and that we're giving our agents and the policyholders the service that they need on that side of things. And then we also got the business development executive saying, we don't just want to go out and write every single policy at all costs. Let's make sure that this is the right policy to bring to SIF and it's the right home.
So that was a change. Like back in the day, what's the phrase? Ghost policy. Mm-hmm. So back in the day, SIF was just like a revolving door of writing ghost policies. And then it must have been during Rick's time, maybe, that y'all said, no, NCCI can do those. We don't have to do those, which was probably a big change from a procedure standpoint, but probably a healthy change just from a time perspective.
It was a very healthy change because you think ghost policies, and what that means is that there's no employees. It's just a piece of paper, right? Our average loss ratio on our ghost policies, whenever we wrote them for those last 3 years, was over 90%. So miraculously, there were employees whenever they were injured. So it was awkward. It was a very awkward, kind of dangerous setup, honestly.
Yeah.
We had zero payroll, boom, claim, we had payroll. And I'm not saying anybody was doing anything wrong, but it was an awkward thing to try to follow.
Well, you are a professional, and as a carrier, you're like, we can't ascribe motives to anybody, but we get the phone calls, and I'm like, this person is not legit. They're like, hey, my cousin wants me to remodel their house, and so I need to get a policy, but I'm going to cancel it as soon as I'm done. I'm like, this person doesn't want to spend any money. We ask them, have you ever had work comp before? No, never in my life. I don't want it. It's a waste of money. Oh, but you want the state fund to give you a policy. Now, this is now we're able to say, hey, well, right now, here's how this would work. You'd have to go to the NCCI, blah, blah, blah. Our office would say, no, thank you. We don't think you're going to keep this going. We're more of a full year policy kind of office. But being able to vet those clients is not easy, and we had to have a culture shift even internally. Now, I'm assuming at the state fund, it's a little different vibe, and I want to hear you talk about this more, because if you're just employers, there's less of that. You don't have the same, employers has a mission, right? But state fund has a unique mission outside of the other carriers in that you're helping the state of Idaho with difficult codes. How is that described again? Remind me of the terminology that you used.
Absolutely. So we have a public mission is what we call it. Yes. And it's weird. I went from employers, and they have a very specific appetite. You said mission, but it's a very specific appetite. It's the ice cream shops, it's the yogurt, the Hallmark stores, that type of stuff. They have expanded since then. But I was used to that. I came over to SIF, and I like to joke, as long as you are not manufacturing dynamite in an underground mine, and as long as you're profitable, we've probably got a home for you. So I went from an appetite this big to an appetite this big.
Right.
And it was a big shift for me. In my entire 25 years, I have never worked for a company that has this type of an appetite. That's funny. So it's been interesting.
So, okay, I'm comparing SIF to Arizona. So we had a guy referred to us that we talked to in Arizona. We thought, we're thinking through, like, what would expansion look like to Phoenix? And what I found out was they no longer have a state fund per se, but they have some carriers that are kind of sort of the state fund. But I haven't found as many SIF level commitments to the state, the public mission. So is public mission something that every employee would know that term at the state fund?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It's something that is near and dear to our hearts. We're not We're not out there just looking for the cream of the crop. We're looking for policyholders that have a desire to want to improve. It's okay if they have a little bit of a history, but if they want to partner with us on their safety and really make those improvements, we love partnering with them in exchange.
Well, I have seen it make a difference. I mean, I've been to those meetings where an insured who's not going to leave the state fund is sitting there with one of your loss control reps saying, okay, it is 110 degrees. I do want to get more water. I want to do things so that we don't have that loss that ends up killing our loss ratio. How would you, if you think of, I'm trying to think, when did you guys add the dividend? Not dividend. When did you add experience rating?
Schedule rating. Is that what you're thinking of? Yeah. Schedule rating, that was prior to me coming over to SIF. I want to say we're probably at about 5 or 6 years now that we started doing schedule rating like standard carriers do in the market.
Would it have been during COVID? Because I want to say I was in a room that I used during COVID, and I had written Rick an email saying, I can't believe this day has come. I'm really happy. Great work. And then my buddy Mike, who's I think he might still be doing IT stuff, he emailed me and he was like, hey, Rick just read your email at a company meeting. And I almost fell out of my chair. It's like, wait, what? But it was just a nice email with a few lines. But it was cool to see that, like, that most people don't know if they're new to the state. The state fund never did that before. No,
they had a deviation. And that was, I think the last time that there was a deviation, it was a 9% deviation. It was applied to every single policy. If you were $400 or $400,000, and if you had the worst claims or the best claims, everybody got a 9% deviation, and that was it. So I'm glad that we can dynamically schedule rate now, which allows us to take a look at individual companies and see what type of programs they have and what they are doing to improve their safety culture.
Right. So I want to say when I was in California, it could go 50% up or down, but Idaho has 25, which is still can provide some relief. Has it been a process to teach the underwriting team, when to apply those credits, when to apply debits, when to cut bait? And what's that conversation like?
It's been a fun process for sure. And I think that we have really improved on what that looks like. We have some red, yellow, green models that we utilize, just looking at different class codes, different industries, that type of stuff. And also just really diving into the file and seeing what that policy looks like. And it's been a really good culture shift over here, and just talking about, what we need to be competitive. And it isn't always price at the end of the day. We don't want to be the cheapest insurance company out there. Yeah. Honestly, we want people to know that we have 12 safety professionals across the state, all the way from dang near the Canada border, clear down to the Utah border. And like I said, we really want to partner with those folks and see what that looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I remember very shortly after the rating was being used, getting a call from one of your underwriters who was a star. And this underwriter was like, hey, I don't know if I can give you any credits. And I said, well, hold on. Let's think this through together as a team. This insured doesn't deserve any credits. Like, their loss ratio was like 300% or 200. It was high. I said, they're just lucky to have a policy from you. Don't give them anything this time around, because we want to stay in the good graces of the state fund, because we don't want to get fired and sent to NCCI. That's their bad day. Losing 5% credit is not a bad day compared to going to NCCI.
Absolutely. Let's price them the way that they need to be priced. And we love having that open dialogue with our agents and being able to work with that.
I remember chatting with, I forget who it was at SIF, who was saying that you can't rely on only agents to give reasonable expectations. We fight for our customers, don't get me wrong, but there is a time when you have to say, realistically, this customer's lucky to be with the state fund right now. They're lucky not to be fired. So yeah, it's a never-ending training, I'm assuming, for our people internally, but also for folks at SIF.
Absolutely, it is. Yes.
So what are the things that you're excited about as you enter this new role? Say the role. The title again?
Policyholder Services Director.
Policyholders Service Director. What does that role entail, and what are you excited about with that role?
Yeah, so I work with the different departments within SIF that really touch the policy, not the claim side, just the policy. So with our audit team, our safety team, our underwriting support services, and business development. I work with all of those teams, just making sure that we have the policy side of things covered, making sure that what audit is doing on this side isn't interfering with what underwriting is doing on this side, and working through what all of those what all those things look like.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Linsey, go easy on me. I'm an insurance agent from Caldwell, so you got to go slow. So audit, safety, business development, is policyholders somehow in there too? Is that like tied in? Is that all those things that lead to policy, but not claims?
Not claims,
Okay,
correct.
okay.
So everything that's not
but
IT
claims.
or claims
Okay.
within SIF is in that division.
And as you look at those different divisions and trying to get them on the same page, what hurdles happen behind the scenes at a carrier that you're looking to make improvements upon?
Really, I'm going to go back to that customer experience part.
Okay.
Just figuring out, everybody has to go through an audit, but we don't have to make it the most painful root canal experience that it has to be.
Okay.
So figuring out what that looks like, still getting what we need at the end of the day, but not having it be this terrifying IRS is auditing me type of scenario. Working through some of that, I think, is huge. And like I said, our technology, the hurdles behind the scenes, we are on a huge technology mission right now to revamp our portals for our policyholders, for our agents, our quoting platform, and just making sure that we get input from all of those different departments about what they need to go into those new portals.
Okay. So you are on a tech mission, using tech to help a policyholder in Boise, Idaho, who's been a 30-year policyholder with SIF. How can their audits be easier? How can their experience maybe paying a bill online or accessing policy info online? So you're overseeing, I mean, that's a lot.
It's a bunch. And we worked with a firm last year that came in and did audit or did interviews with some of our agents. It was randomly selected agents across the state and then randomly selected policyholders. And without us on the phone, asked questions about, what do you wish SIF could do better? What are they already doing well? And went through some of that. We even did some mapping. They would pull up their screen and we would say, okay, let's say you need to pay your bill with SIF. How do you do that? And you would be surprised by how many people either totally knew where to go or other ones that were like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. And that told us we need to simplify this and we need to double down on that mission.
Okay. Because it seems like with insurance, in a perfect world, everything would be simplified, but there's enough details that it can't be too simple, or else you end up being like these online raters that then miss stuff and get with huge claims or whatever.
Absolutely. We cannot lose that personal touch there. So we need to be friendly to do business with. And sometimes that's hard because we do have the $400 policies and we have the $400,000 policies and we have the tech guys and we have the guy that still wants to deliver his payment every single month to our front desk. And we love seeing them, but it's hard to figure out how to meet all of those folks in the middle and make all of them happy.
Wow. Well, you and I are a file. We were, I guess, now that I think about it, we were kind of the tail end of the file clerk generation.
Absolutely.
Because within 10 years, files had largely started to disappear.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever heard a rep say, and this was in Agora Hills, California, a rep said to one of our account managers, I won't take accords because our account manager is getting ready to write them out. I won't take them. You have to go on the internet and quote it. And that was, just mind-blowing at the time. So it'll only continue to move quickly, but we don't have to be scared of the future because by the time we get there, it'll be normal. Are you seeing SIF make those changes where even if you're not doing everything like that, you're gearing yourself and readying yourself for that future? I'd
say that we are more encouraged to meet people where they are. If we have an agent that still wants to send in an Accord app over fax, we'll take it. And if we have an agent that wants to go onto our quoting portal, we'll take that too.
Okay.
We want to do whatever's easiest. At the end of the day, we know that the majority of our agents, they have, let's say, a dozen work comp markets out there. We can't expect you to go in there and enter in a dozen different applications to every single market. So we need to meet you where you're at.
Okay. Well, I love that that's part of, I feel like that goes back to that public mission. Because if you say, we're not going to meet these few different types of people, you're kind of getting away from the public mission. Again, I don't know what the public mission entails, but I'm feeling like there are threads of consistency in what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yes. It's very important to us to not lose those roots and to stay grounded in where we are.
Okay. Well, Linsey, I'm happy to keep chatting SIF. Anything else you want to say, SIF, before I ask you about who you are when you're not at SIF?
Ooh. The only other thing I would say about SIF is, I've talked about our roots and I've talked about keeping us grounded. I had someone ask me the other day, why SIF? Why do you love SIF? And it's the people. It's, you know, we mentioned 230, 240 people. It's the people at SIF. They've got heart. They have determination, and it's fantastic. I love, you know, you called Rick and you said, am I even allowed to call you now that you're the CEO? If I could tell you how many times, you know, Katie Farrell, our CEO, has said, hey, come down to my office. I don't know what shoes to wear today. You know, I mean, we're real people, and I love that at the end of the day. The company has a lot of heart and soul.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like that is happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think with your market rebrand you did years ago, that was a healthy way to build kind of an exterior to the new SIF.
Absolutely.
You know, exteriors aren't who we are, but they do help give an idea of what we're trying to do.
Yep.
Okay, so you're not at SIF. What would people be surprised to know about you and the hobbies you have outside of work?
Oh, the biggest one, you know, typically I'm walking into, or at least I used to walk into agencies, you know, wearing my business suit and my heels and all that good stuff. I recently got into hunting over the last few years. And anybody that has learned that, they're like, excuse me, Linsey Lockner is hunting? And I have just loved learning every single bit of it. I've always loved the outdoors, but now I go to elk camp for a week and a half every year, you know, living in a tent and getting buckets of water out of the creek and boiling it and doing all that good stuff. So I have had so much fun. Turkey season's getting ready to come up, and I'm putting in for my turkey tag and doing all that good stuff.
Wow. So do you have any like type of gear that you've liked to, are you into like buying the cool gear? Do you just like being outdoors? What would you say has been the most fun part of hunting?
Yeah, I'm into the warm gear. I have learned that I have to have about 4 layers before I can go out. It's not for the faint of heart at all. So gear, no, just keep me warm at the end of the day. What I love is I used to think that whenever somebody went out hunting, they just went out and they just found an animal. And I think that what I have really learned is that it's a whole journey. It's learning how to understand the animals. It's tracking them. It's doing everything like that, and just really being out and about in nature and learning about that journey, and that it's not so easy as what I used to think it was.
Right. And you can go out there and spend a lot of time and not get anything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. Last year for elk season, I was out there for a week and a half, and all we saw were cows and calves. We never saw a single bull while we were out there. As much as I stared at them, I could not make them grow antlers. They were still cows at the end of the day. But I still had an amazing time getting out there and being outside for a week and a half.
Wow. This was not on my bingo card. I did not see hunting as one of those things.
Yep. You and the rest of the world, including my family. My brothers were like, who is willing to put a rifle in my sister's hands? This is terrifying right now. So, but I have had a ton of fun learning everything.
So you have hunting outdoors, and then we were chatting earlier about like the gamer world that, you know, our kids can be into. Do you have any, like, just going back there really quickly, do you have any video games you've ever played, like in maybe when you were younger or even now, or is that more what your kids are doing?
Oh no. I mean, maybe Super Mario Bros, you know, and a little duck hunt, you know, some Tetris. I think that's what we got down on, at least at my age. Had a ton of fun doing that stuff. My boys are into all this crazy stuff now. I have no idea what type of video games they play, but they love them.
So. Well, some people are, you just never know until you ask, but some people love games. And I showed my kids a video the other day. It was talking about how the nostalgia economy is really strong. Folks probably roughly our age are going back and finding things they did as kids. And so I said to my kids, what's something you did today that's part of your dad's nostalgia economy? And they thought for a second. And then my 14-year-old said, we played Street Fighter. So when I was a kid, I would go into Fred Meyer. They had Street Fighter 2. You had to pay for it. I just sat there watching in awe. Some booth at the fair sold me like a USB stick. You put it into your TV and you can play a video game. It broke already. It doesn't even work. But my kids got to see this game. My 2 girls, they have no clue about fighting games. But they just got to see a tiny bit of my childhood that way. So,
that's fun, definitely. Yeah. I have played Super Mario Bros. With my boys, and they geeked out on it a little bit. But, you know, now they're 16 and 20, and one of them doesn't live at home anymore up north in Moscow. And it's fun whenever they do come home, and I can hang out with them.
So you said, you just said their ages. Will you say that for me one more time?
16 and 20. 2 boys, very, very much taller than I am.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you will be empty nest pretty soon here.
Yeah, here in about a year and a half. The youngest graduates from Rocky Mountain over in Meridian. So that's going to be interesting for sure. Yeah.
You might have to do more traveling with your BDEs in the future.
Absolutely. Yes, please. If they will have me, I will get out there with them in a heartbeat.
So when you are doing that traveling, I know it's 10 years ago, it was a long time ago, but what do you do to stay busy when you're in the car if you have a road trip?
It is. I have the most eclectic music taste ever. It is getting the music flowing, getting the Red Bull, like I said, and having that flowing as well. And just getting prepared for that next visit. I know whenever I took over Montana, I went over there and shadowed the gentleman that handled it before me. And we got done visiting an agency and I was like, okay, sounds good. How much longer until our next one? He's like, 2 hours, Linsey. That's the next office that we're going to go visit. Wow. And so we got done with that one. I was like, okay, Kevin, how much longer till the next one? 2 more hours, Linsey. So lots of windshield time, especially over in Montana. And I just loved listening to my music on those trips.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what just dawned on me that I didn't cover when we were going through your work history that I should have asked you, because now that we're talking about kids and traveling and everything, it goes by really fast. What advice would you give to someone who is either getting into the insurance industry or is a young person thinking generally about what careers they want? What knowledge have you gained that you wish you could maybe say back to your younger self? Like share with us what you'd say.
Whenever it pertains to family and kids?
Sure.
Yeah. I would say one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from somebody was my VP of sales over at Employers. And she said, this is geeky, 1 calendar and 1 calendar only. And I have adhered to that my entire career. Work and family can really start to collide at times, and you need to have 1 calendar to make sure you have everything straight. And that has been so beneficial for me, making sure that my boys and their track meets and their band concerts and everything else are right there on my calendar to make sure that they are still my focal point of my life right now. It goes by so quickly, like what you said. And I think that whenever you sign off for the day, you need to sign off and you need to focus on your family at that point. I go in and I work hard. I put in my 8+ hours a day, and whenever I'm home, I'm mom at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
And that's so important.
I am heeding this advice. I needed to hear it because I know that my own little brain starts to spin and think about work even when I'm with my kids. So my kids are homeschooled, so I can see them if I'm working from home. They're there, but it does go by so quickly that really being present with them, like you're saying, is really important.
It's very important. I will say that, the work from home thing, my boys got used to, if I'd be on a conference call and they tried to come in my office, they used to call it the crooked finger. The crooked finger would come out and it's like, don't you dare interrupt me right now. This is not going to be good. And so they still tease me. The crooked finger's coming out. So, but once you sign off, be engaged at home.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Well, so one thing that changed in our careers is that when COVID came around, that changed work in the office versus work from home, but it also changed carriers visiting agents because the agents just weren't in the office anymore.
Correct.
So that's part of why we do like a group schedule is we can't, it's hard to get people together on the same page. We have, varied days or whatever. So I guess we've kind of seen, we might look back decades from now and say the whole world changed with COVID.
It truly did. And we have some agencies now that have never come back to office. All of their employees are virtual. They've given up their office space. And so we still do Zoom with those folks. Or, we meet them somewhere at a coffee shop or something like that and do those visits. We've had to get creative on that side of things.
Yeah. We haven't done a ton. We do Teams meetings. One of our rules is like, please have your camera on unless you just have to turn it off. But don't just show up to the meeting with your camera off. That's not respectful to the person you're engaging with. Things come up, don't get me wrong. But, maybe you have tech difficulties, but it's not okay to basically tell the person, I wish I didn't have to be at this meeting.
Correct.
Right?
I am known. I will not start a meeting until every single camera is on. We do not do that. We have to have our cameras on. And I love seeing everybody's faces.
The boss.
Yes. It's terrible. So strict.
So earlier I said books, podcasts, TV shows, and you kind of caught me by surprise. So tell us your guilty pleasure. What are you doing with your free time when it comes to TV shows?
Oh, reality TV show junkie right here. I will not say it's, Real Housewives or anything like that. Give me some Alone, give me some of the Naked and Afraid series, that type of stuff. I've been big on that for quite a while. And so I think that that's also part of what getting outdoors and hunting and all of that really fueled in me for that. But no, reality TV, that's it. So.
Is Alone the one where they had like just the person's alone, they have a camera and they're like in some super remote place just trying to stay alive and see how long they could basically not go crazy?
Absolutely. I think the last season I watched, it was 83 days that someone stayed out there alone.
Dang.
So yeah, huge respect. And I want to say that one of the most recent winners of that season was from Idaho, is what I heard.
No kidding.
I haven't seen it yet, and I hope I didn't spoil that for anybody, but I heard that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I am a raging extrovert. Years ago, my wife and kids would fly out like 2 days early for a trip, and then I would join them. I would go to work all day, come home, clean the whole house, make myself dinner, and then at 7 at night, I would say, I'm the loneliest person in the whole world. No one's lonelier than me right now. I'm all alone. I would be the worst person at that game. I mean, but when I see these people, they are grinding through it. They're like sharpening sticks and killing rabbits or whatever they do. It's pretty incredible to see.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I have, like I said, a ton of respect for them. I could not do it.
No.
I think I'm more introvert than extrovert, and it's because, and maybe you're the same way, from 8 to 5, we are engaged and we are in conversation, 8 hours a day. And so I go home and I'm like, no, the brain is done at that point. And that's whenever I go into my full introvert mode right there.
Yes.
So.
Well, recharging batteries at the end of the day is important.
Yeah.
For me, I've realized that if I can read a book at the end of the night just by myself, I listen to them on Audible and then I read and highlight them later, which it's been just an amazing retention tool. So if you listen to a book and you read it a week later, your brain will remember where you were when you were listening. I'll be like, oh yeah, I was driving down this road, turning right when this section came up. It's kind of incredible.
Oh, wow. I might have to give that one a shot.
If you have a book you like.
Yeah.
But what I've found is that most books will have kind of filler content where you're thinking, I don't really care about like retaining what his hometown looked like. But when they talked about how they overcame adversity, I want to go back and review that. So when it comes to reality TV, I've watched Survivor with my wife and kids. And we try to like talk with our kids through like, okay, see how this person is manipulative. See how this person's a basket case. One of our theories is, though, if you're going to be toxic on Survivor, your toxicity levels are like through the roof in real life. I mean, you have to be toxic.
Absolutely.
to be on those shows.
Absolutely. It can be a train wreck to watch for sure.
They, like a friend of ours went on American Idol, and she was a really good singer. She was with 3 people or 5 people, and they all sang. And she was like, well, I'm clearly better than these 4 people. And the producers, when they're doing like these pre-vetting, they were like, you're either significantly amazing or really bad. But you weren't good enough to be really good. She was good, but this other person was so bad that they moved that person forward. And I think the same thing with Survivor, whereas you fit a certain box, like they need like an athlete girl that overcame obstacles, right? That's perfect. But then they're also like, we need another girl who's going to be just hated by everybody. It's such good TV, when they loathe each other like that on TV.
Oh, it is. We love to hate them.
One time we were watching the show and I told my kids, if they vote this girl off, we're getting in the car and buying ice cream. We're going. Your dad cannot stand this person right now. So.
And how did it play out for you?
Because the crazy thing with Survivor is the contestants can tell when you're that toxic. So they know not to vote you out because you're not a threat yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So like the ultimate strategy game is Survivor because literally every person's trying to stay alive. But it's kind of humiliating when you see these folks who think they're being strategic and in reality, everyone's just kind of blowing them off. So you have to really be so cancerous to a group of people that they're like, dude, we have to throw you overboard.
We're done. Yeah.
Or you have to lose them. Like they'll do like these like races, and whoever wins gets food.
Okay.
So if you're holding the team back, they might vote you off because they're like, this group, we haven't eaten in 4 days. Well, this group now got a buffet, and we're literally sitting on a beach starving.
Oh, sheesh.
So let's vote this person off. So.
Oh, wow. No, a new one I just started was, you remember Fear Factor from years and years
yeah.
ago? Now they have Fear Factor House of Fear that's hosted by Johnny Knoxville. That one's been fun. It's like Real World meets Fear Factor all in one, and they got these challenges. You've got to catch a cow stomach out of the air and do bizarre stuff like that. So those are my evenings, Brian. It's great.
So hear me out. Fear Factor State Fund Edition.
Yes. Yes, please. Let's bring it. We can have like the worst loss ratio policies hitting us in the face. It would be great.
I I had an idea. You'll have to tell me if this sounds just ridiculous, but have you heard of this place Nerfed that's in town? It's like where you go you play like with Nerf guns.
Absolutely.
I've done it for like kids parties. I had an idea like when Hartwell has a sales meeting in the summer to get all of our agents and then invite all the carriers and have a Nerf battle.
Yes, please. Please make sure I am invited to that. We went axe throwing a couple of years ago as a team, the business development team over at SIF, and we invited Katie to go with us. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be doing this. This might be against company policy to do axe throwing at a work comp company. But we did. And sure enough, our CEO bellied up and was throwing 2 axes at the same time. Wow. She threw them behind her back. And I was like, I am not messing with her. I am not going to cross her on that one.
Those axes, like, if just even if not even putting your insurance hat on, just even looking at your insurance hat, the axe throw just seems like something has to go wrong in that kind of a business.
It does. And spoiler alert for any SIF employees that are watching this, we're no longer allowed to go axe throwing. That has been eliminated from the team building list at SIF.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a one and done.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think one of my neighbors actually owns an axe throwing place, if I'm not mistaken. But I've heard it's a really cool, like, team building kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think what other team building things we've seen happen that have been...
we did a good one. It was at a company I used to work for. We did an escape room, and it was while we were down in San Francisco. I was in charge of planning it, and I picked Escape from Alcatraz. And so there was 4 of us plus our sales manager, and I had organized it. And the way that the escape room kicked off is they put you in a prison cell, obviously, and they handcuffed each of us to a water pipe towards the ceiling, and then they left the room. No. And I remember my sales manager looked at me and said, "What have you done?"
That's insane.
But it was a lot of fun.
So hold on, say this again. So you go into the room, and then what happens? Say it one more time.
They handcuffed us to a water pipe towards the top of the ceiling, and we had to try to find keys to get out of the handcuffs. And then from there, had to find a whole ton more keys to try to figure out how to get out of the prison cell. So it was interesting. Wow. Yeah.
Would you recommend that?
Maybe don't spring it on your boss. I think that was my mistake, getting my boss handcuffed to a water pipe. But I would highly recommend it. We've done several escape rooms at my time over at SIF, and it's been a lot of fun learning how to work with each other on that.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So I'm going to have to ask you for more advice on that in the future, because as our office has grown, we have employees in Idaho, but now 2 salespeople that live in Washington.
Oh, fabulous.
And so trying to draw them back in and like create that community it's not easy because you have to line up schedules, and we don't have, so I need your advice in the future.
Oh, absolutely. We bring all of our field staff on site 2 weeks a year, once in the fall and once in the spring, and we do a lot of that stuff during that time. It's coming up second week of April. We'll have everybody on site at SIF. Oh, it'll be a good time.
So wait, do you have? Is it like a full week?
It's a full week that we go through everything. So there's just lots of talking about what our plans and initiatives are for the year. We do a lot of training. Okay. We go through all of that stuff. And my son called. My 20-year-old son just called. It's like he knew I was on the podcast right now, and he's calling me to see how it's going, I'm sure. Anyway, so we go through training for the year. We do a lot of just fellowship. We have one coming up second week of April this year that is speed networking. And so it's not speed dating, we're at work, but it's speed networking. And it's where our employees shuffle through and spend 90 seconds with another employee that they've never met before, and learning about them and learning what their role is at SIF and what they do there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so I am going to, I really do need to learn more about this. So I took a personality profile a while ago. I geek out over him, and it said I have 0 levels of collaboration. So that being said, I need help.
I do not buy that,
Brian. My friendliness somehow obscures this, but I don't ask people for how I can do better. So what I'd love to do is ask you more about that, because what you've done with SIF is probably what we need to do, but we're just, trying to build it from the ground up now.
Yeah, we'd love to partner. I'd love to share some stuff with you. That'd be great. Yeah.
Linsey, it has been great to talk to you. Any parting words, pearls of wisdom, or other shout outs you want to give as we kind of land the plane?
Not at all. Just thank you for having me on here today, Brian. It's been a great experience. I've had a ton of fun. Thanks for listening to what SIF is doing, what we're up to. Shout out to you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Bye.